When God says, "Not anymore," it is rarely a whisper you expect, but one you need deeply. There are moments when heaven closes a door you kept knocking on without understanding why. You tried to hold on, but everything started slipping through your fingers like water running away. You felt the tension in your spirit, the subtle heaviness that refused to disappear completely. That is often the first sign that God is preparing to end something in your life. Because God never leaves you trapped in places that damage your soul or mislead your heart. When He says "not anymore," He is not punishing you. He is protecting you intentionally. He sees conversations you were never meant to hear, motives you never noticed behind smiling faces. He sees the slow erosion of your peace, the quiet choking of your identity, the fading of purpose. And where your eyes saw comfort, His eyes saw danger that could consume you completely over time. Sometimes the greatest mercy God gives you is a separation you did not want to experience. He closes doors you begged Him to keep open because He knows what waits behind them. He removes relationships before they collapse and crush your spirit in the long run. He shuts down habits that were slowly poisoning your heart from the inside out. He brings an end to cycles that drained your strength and kept you far from His presence. You may not notice at first, because endings rarely feel like protection in the beginning. They feel like loss. They feel like confusion. They feel like being ripped apart suddenly. But God's "not anymore" is never random, never cruel, never without purpose or direction. It is the voice of a Father who sees the storm you are walking toward unknowingly. It is the intervention of a God who refuses to let your destiny collapse in silence. Maybe you felt people distancing themselves for no clear reason, leaving you feeling abandoned. Maybe opportunities stopped flowing, leaving you wondering what mistake you might have made. Maybe something you loved no longer felt like home, no matter how much you tried. These are not coincidences. These are indicators that God is redirecting your steps intentionally. There is a spiritual shift happening long before you recognize it in the physical realm. He begins to remove your peace from places that are not aligned with your purpose. He lets conversations fall apart so you stop returning to what weakens your spirit. He allows a holy discomfort to rise within you, pushing you away from the familiar. Because if God allowed comfort in the wrong place, you would never choose to leave it. He knows we cling to things that feel stable, even when they slowly destroy our calling. He knows we romanticize what hurts us and justify what harms us repeatedly. So He steps in with authority and says, "This ends now. Not anymore. Not for you." When God says this, everything begins to shift, even the things you thought were permanent. The friendships you held tightly begin to loosen without any clear explanation. The opportunities you depended on suddenly dissolve without warning or apology. The habits you once enjoyed lose their satisfaction and begin feeling strangely empty. The environments that felt comfortable start feeling suffocating with no logical cause. It is God pulling you away from what was draining what He poured into your soul. It is God rescuing you from what you did not know was quietly destroying your future. Scripture says He is the gardener who cuts off every branch that bears no fruit. This cutting is painful, but it prevents deeper pain that would come later in life. Because God would rather wound your comfort than allow your destiny to be wasted. He cuts what holds you back, but He never cuts without planting something better later. The closed door you resent today may be the very thing that saves your heart tomorrow. You may feel the weight of His disruption, but it is truly the weight of His protection. He interrupts patterns that kept you small, hidden, fearful, and spiritually exhausted daily. He pauses relationships that blurred your purpose and clouded your intimacy with Him. He ends seasons that were meant to last weeks, not years of your life. You may ask, why now? But God answers, because now you are ready to release it. There is a divine moment when God refuses to let you return to what harms you. You reach for what once worked, but God no longer allows it to satisfy your heart. He dries up the wells you used to drink from, because they polluted your spirit deeply. He blocks the paths you kept walking because they led nowhere aligned with his plans. He removes people you depended on because they limited your growth more than you realized. When God says, "Not anymore," you might feel abandoned, but you are actually being protected. When he closes doors violently, it is because leaving them open would have destroyed you. When he removes people abruptly, it is because their presence would sabotage your purpose. When he disrupts your comfort, it is because comfort was becoming your spiritual enemy. The hand of God does not remove without reason, without wisdom, without deep love. He sees your future clearly, even when you cannot see beyond your present pain right now. He knows what your heart needs, even when your heart fights to keep what harms it. He knows where your story is going, even when all you see is the ending of a chapter. You can trust his "no more" because it protects you from what would have broken you. You can trust his separation because it shields you from deeper wounds and betrayals. You can trust his redirection because he is leading you to a place you cannot imagine. When God says "not anymore," it is not a rejection of you, but a rescue for you. It is the mercy you do not recognize yet, the blessing disguised as loss and change. In time, you will realize God was not taking something from you. He was saving you. Let this truth settle in your spirit. God's endings are always divine beginnings in disguise, and his "not anymore" is always followed by a silent whisper, "I have better for you." Sometimes the hardest part of God saying "not anymore" is how alone the aftermath feels. The silence after the separation can feel louder than the noise that once surrounded you. You begin to notice the empty spaces where familiar voices used to echo daily in your life. You may sit in rooms that once felt warm and now feel strangely hollow and unfamiliar suddenly. These are the moments when your heart aches, wondering why God had to end it this way. It is the emotional valley between the place you left and the place God is leading you. Letting go is not simply an action. It is a deeply spiritual and emotional process continually. Your heart does not release instantly, even when your spirit knows the separation was necessary. You may find yourself missing what God removed, even if it once caused you quiet pain. You may question your worth, wondering if the loss means something was wrong with you personally. But hear this clearly. God's removal is not a statement about your value, but your destiny. He removes what cannot follow you because it would collapse under the weight of your calling. He cuts ties that would sabotage the spiritual growth he is producing inside you right now. There is a holy discomfort that begins to rise when God is healing you from what hurt you. At first it feels like emptiness, but it is actually space being cleared for renewal later. It is the painful detox of the soul, the slow unbinding of unhealthy attachments and patterns. God is not just removing something from your life. He is removing something from your heart. Because what you carried started shaping your identity more than your relationship with him, you may feel loss, but you are actually experiencing liberation, even if you cannot see it. Separation hurts because your spirit becomes aware of wounds you ignored for far too long. God reveals the broken places you hid beneath distraction, comfort, denial, and familiarity. This season exposes the difference between what you wanted and what your soul truly needed. And sometimes what you needed most was the very thing you kept resisting from God repeatedly. There are wounds you became so used to that healing feels unfamiliar and uncomfortable now. There are memories you held so tightly that release feels like losing part of your identity. But God does not remove anything without offering deeper healing and transformation afterward. You cannot cling to the past and still expect God to grow you into your future simultaneously. This is why his "not anymore" often feels abrupt. It breaks emotional patterns that controlled you. Patterns of approval-seeking, overgiving, tolerating disrespect, or staying where peace was absent. God will interrupt any cycle that keeps you smaller than the person he created you to become. And the emotional pain you feel is not a punishment. It is the pressure of transformation. A tearing away hurts because your heart was intertwined with things that were temporary only. But temporary attachments cannot hold the weight of the eternal plans God designed for your life. You may be grieving someone who never truly valued you, but God will heal that deeply. You may be longing for a season that crushed you silently, but God will restore your peace. You may be missing a place that drained you spiritually, but God will rebuild your strength. This season is where God rewrites your beliefs about yourself, your worth, and your purpose. He begins removing lies you accepted, lies spoken over you, lies you internalized quietly. He heals the part of you that thought brokenness was normal or dysfunction was acceptable. He comforts the parts of you that were convinced love always required pain and sacrifice. Your heart may not understand now, but it will thank God later for every ending He commanded. There is a reason peace left your spirit long before the separation actually happened outwardly. God allowed discomfort to prepare your heart to let go of what you were not meant to carry. And now that it is gone, He begins the gentle work of restoring what was damaged within you. Healing starts with honesty, admitting the pain, acknowledging the disappointment, releasing the guilt. You cannot heal what you keep pretending is not hurting you deeply inside your soul today. Confession is not weakness. It is the doorway God uses to begin the rebuilding process. Tell Him where it hurts, what you miss, what you fear, what you do not understand right now. He is not surprised by your emotions. He is the one guiding you through them patiently. This is the phase where God rebuilds your internal foundation, your mindset, your emotional strength. You learn to trust Him again, not because life is easy, but because He proves Himself faithful. You learn to recognize His voice more clearly because other voices no longer control you. You learn to value yourself differently because God removed what made you doubt your worth. And slowly, without forcing anything, healing begins to replace the ache you carried silently. You find yourself breathing deeper, thinking clearer, and feeling lighter than before. You begin realizing that God's removal was not the end of your story, but the beginning truly. You understand that His "not anymore" was actually a rescue disguised as loss and disruption. You start seeing that you were holding on to what was slowly killing your peace and identity. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is evidence that God is strengthening your spirit. Releasing the past is not abandonment. It is alignment with what God is preparing next. The place that once broke you cannot be the place that heals you, and God knew this entirely. So He separated you not to wound you further, but to stop the wounding from continuing anymore. Your heart may not see it yet, but this separation is the beginning of your spiritual freedom. God is not finished with you. He is forming you in ways silence can finally reveal clearly. Trust this season. Trust the process. Trust the God who said, "Not anymore." His hand is on you even when His plan feels painful, unclear, or completely unexpected now. This process is not punishment. It is preparation for the life He is calling you into. And the healing that follows will be deeper than the pain you felt when God removed it. When the dust finally settles, you begin noticing things you never paid attention to before. The silence that once felt frightening now feels strangely peaceful, almost like a gentle invitation. You start hearing your own heartbeat again, uncluttered by the noise others brought with them. You realize some relationships had drained you so deeply, you forgot what rest felt like. God didn't remove people to punish you. He removed them to breathe life into you. As the weeks pass, you notice your energy returning in unexpected and refreshing waves. You feel more present, more grounded, more connected to who you actually are inside. This is the beginning of your renewal, a quiet work only God Himself could orchestrate. Sometimes God subtracts before He multiplies, trims before He causes growth to flourish. What seemed like loss was truly preparation for something you couldn't handle before. You start seeing blessings in the empty spaces that once felt unbearable and confusing. God was not distancing you from people. He was bringing you closer to your purpose. You begin meeting new voices, gentle ones, supportive ones, who speak life into your spirit. People who don't compete with your peace, but naturally contribute to it with sincerity. You realize God didn't just remove. He also replaced with far better than you imagined. Slowly, gratitude replaces the bitterness, and clarity replaces the emotional fog you lived in. You look back and can finally say, God knew exactly what he was doing with me. The pain taught you discernment. The separation taught you strength and inner stability. God didn't let those people stay because their season in your story was completed. And forcing what God has already released will always lead to unnecessary suffering. Now you walk lighter, carrying only what was meant for your soul to hold. Your steps feel aligned, intentional, and blessed in ways you couldn't see before. You understand now, divine removal is divine protection, even when it feels confusing. And every door God closes is an invitation to walk through a better one ahead. Trusting him becomes easier because you witnessed his wisdom unfold in real time. This is growth, learning to say thank you, even for the things you once cried over. And as you continue forward, you carry a quieter confidence anchored in God's goodness. You no longer fear losing people. You fear losing alignment with God's greater plan. Because now you understand, anyone meant to stay will never be removed by his hand. And anyone removed was never meant to carry the weight of your destiny with you. You are stepping into a new chapter, lighter, wiser, and beautifully aligned. God's hands are still on your story, shaping every turn with intentional love. Let him continue guiding you, even when his guidance feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable, because he sees further, knows deeper, and loves stronger than you ever could alone. Thank him for the doors closed, the people removed, and the peace he's restoring. Your heart is healing, your spirit is awakening, and your purpose is unfolding gloriously. Keep walking, keep trusting, keep surrendering every part of the journey to him. And remember, whatever God removes, he always replaces with something eternally better. If this message touched you, take a moment to breathe and rest in his presence. And if you want more messages like this, stay connected to this space. Please like this video and subscribe for more spiritual guidance, truth, and hope.